Hello everyone and welcome back to Star Wars The Old Republic. This is a little video that I'm making because I got a lot of questions in my last few video, which is great. I like questions. I always like questions to answer. So I decided I'm going to make a little video answering a few of these questions. So I've kind of lumped a few of these questions in to this video. So this will cover a couple of questions that I got. Well, I was going to explain it in the chat, but I may as well demonstrate it in a video. So the first question I had was well, it wasn't the first question, but it's the first question I'm going to cover. How do you target an ally without clicking on them? That's an interesting point, interesting one. So we're going to go into our, first of all, we're going to go into our preferences. And we're going to go to our key bindings, and we're going to go to targeting. Targeting is the first one, conveniently for us. So again, if we want to target our allies, we can target our 4 group members by pressing the function keys. So we've got F2 to F5 can target our group members that are in our operations frame. We can additionally target ourselves by pressing F1. That's how we target ourselves. So say we're in a group and we're in an operation and we have it generally arranged in 4s. 8 man is 2 4s, 16 man is 4 4s obviously. So again we can target quickly our group members by using F2 to F5. Obviously F1 is always going to be ourself. But the other thing we can do is Control Tab. Can't really demonstrate it here. Can demonstrate it with normal tab. I guess it works like normal tab targeting. But Control Tab is the default way to cycle through. I guess it'll cycle through everyone. I've never really tried it, to be honest. But I hope that answers your question. So it's the function keys, and Alt Tab is to target the next ally. Again, we'll go to our preferences and our key bindings. Everything I think here is default. Don't have cover or anything like that. Set focus to the targets, Alt F. Target companion, Shift F1. Yeah, Control Tab is target next friend. Tab by default is target next enemy. Control Tab is target next ally. So I guess that would work out. Again, we've got Control Shift Control Tab is to target previous. Oh, there we go. We can cycle back and forward if we really want to press Shift Control Tab. That's a lot of buttons to press. I honestly prefer just to click, but that's how we do it. Target center screen enemy. Focus target. Focus target. What does focus target modifier do? What happens when we press end? Where the hell's the end key on this? Oh, there it is. We have to focus the target. Don't do anything. Oh well. So that's how we. All right, I'm back. Only SWTOR could crash while standing still in an empty area of the fleet. I mean, come on, how difficult is it? Stop crashing me. We're getting lag. Oh, the lag's back to normal. It's having a lot of lag tonight. Yeah, between 40 and 50, that's about normal. That's about normal for me. Right, so I hope that answers your questions. Again, just to, you can experiment with a few of these things. Obviously, you could change the key bindings to maybe something a bit more suitable. Maybe Control Tab. I'd probably want it to be Shift Tab. Shift Tab seems a lot easier to press if that was me. I'd tend to prefer just clicking things. But again, that's your next friend. Target group member. I take it friend means group members. I'm gonna take it. So there's no option to target every group member. I mean, obviously, if you're doing a 4-man, it's probably. I mean, it'll work out okay for just cycling through or targeting them with the function keys. I tend to just click them. But if you're doing a 16-man, it might be a bit of a pain. Might be a bit of a pain to cycle through 16 people. Although if it's a marauder, who cares? Just let that marauder die. If we're healing, we don't care about marauders. So it should be the same PvE, PvP. It should work in both. And by the way, if you remember that Sorcerer video I did, standing in the exact same place. Haven't logged this character since then. Haven't logged this character. So move on to the next question, and the next question is Sorcerer related. That's why I logged into this Sorcerer. If you're wondering why I was on the Sorcerer, why are you on your Sorcerer? Yeah, haven't moved him from this position. He's been staring at that targeting dummy for about a month now. Poor guy. Might play as him for a little bit after we did that 2.7 video. Even he's still got his stim active. Only got 24 minutes to go on his stim, but at least it's still active. So the question was, can you use shock in addition to lightning strike as your filler when we're going through our rotation? Now, the reason that we're not going to do that, the reason why we want to get as many lightning strikes in as possible, is because of this buff right here. Our conduction buff. Fork lightning and fork darkness conduct the force, increasing your force bonus damage by 2% for 30 seconds, which stacks up to 3 times. What was that? Each fork lightning and fork darkness, 100% chance to reduce the active cooldown of polarity shift by 1 second. So we want to keep the conduction buff up. Fork lightning and fork darkness. Fork lightning is when you activate chain lightning or lightning strike, there's a 30% chance it produces a second arc of lightning. So when the second arc of lightning hits, it's going to proc conduction. Same with fork darkness. It's crushing darkness has the chance to tick twice. So when we're in our filler, we are always going to be using crushing darkness if available, and then we're going to be using lightning strike as many times as possible. There we go. We got our conduction there, and we get our 3 stacks. So we want to keep those 3 stacks of conduction. So we want again there. Did we get it that time? Does it keep up? Come on. There we go, we got it again. It refreshes it, so we want to keep this refreshed when we get that. Also, chain lightning has the chance to do the same thing. So that's why we want to get as many lightning strikes in as possible. The only exception to that rule is at the end of a fight. If we're doing a burn phase, if something needs to die and it needs to die fast, we are going to press shock. Oops. That's the only time we're really going to press shock, because we don't want to wait the 1.5 seconds. So again, we're keeping this buff up with our chain lightning. So we want to get as many of these lightning strikes in as we can. Chain lightning will obviously do the same thing, but we want to keep this up because it is a DPS boost for us. It does improve our force bonus damage. Click that off and see what it was by default. Yeah, it was 1452. It was up to 1500 bonus damage. So it does make a difference to our DPS output. That's why we don't use shock. The only 2 exceptions that we make is, again, in a burn phase when we're doing that. If something must die quickly, it's quicker to use shock than cast chain lightning. So we're going to use shock for that. Or again, if we have to move, if we're getting out of something, if we've got a big circle here and we're getting out of something, we want to move and DPS at the same time, shock again comes in handy. But that again, crushing darkness and lightning strike. Crushing darkness is our priority over lightning strike, and then lightning strike if it's available. So crushing darkness, sorry, when it's available. Lightning strike is our filler rotation. So I hope that answers your question. So we just want to keep that buff up, because again it reduces the cooldown of polarity shift by 1 second. Is it 1 second per stack? Let's find out. Let's go get that buff up again. Let's see if we can get that. Oh, there we go. We got our crushing darkness on. No, it's still 1 minute 45. If I read this right. So again, we just want to keep 3 stacks of conduction up. 3 stacks of conduction. Fairly, that's the reason. Again, shock is useful. We have got chain shock. Some people don't put points into chain shock. I tend to do it because, you know, what else are we going to put points into? I don't tend to like lightning spire because I don't think distance. There's no fight in the current operations that really requires us to be at max distance. I mean, one of the only real fight that ever did require us to be at max range was Zorn and Toth in Explosive Conflict. That was the only real fight in PvE. PvP, you can see it's useful. You can get out of range of those marauders at least in their leap. Get out of range of them. Lightning Swarm, again, don't see the point in that in PvE. Chain Lightning immobilizes all affected targets. Again, PvP it would be useful, but we're mostly fighting bosses and we can't immobilize bosses. Static Barriers, again, PvP ability. What is that one? Yeah, Backlash. Yeah, that's one of the main ones in PvP that people hate. That, yeah, when you finish your Static Barrier goes off, it is an AoE stun which blinds 3 enemies for a few, what is it? Blinds 3 enemies for 3 seconds. Anyway, we're getting off track. Okay, so move on to our final question. Assassin tank, is it viable for 2.7? Viable for what is the question like that. We'll assume we're doing PvE, PvP maybe? PvP, yes, they're pretty viable. I would suggest they're pretty good for, they produce pretty nice damage. PvE, again, it's not a quest. I don't really have any experience of an assassin tank. I think I tanked once on my assassin, and that was prior to 2.0. So I'm not really the best person to ask. However, I can only tell you this assassin tanks from a healer perspective, so I can only give you that view on an assassin tank. My view is, yes, they're viable. Yes, I mean, we do, the guild I'm in, we do progression ops on the Empire. Our main one of our main tanks is an assassin tank, and I have no problems keeping me alive. You know, it's probably the only thing that people say about the assassin tank is they are one of the hardest tanks to kind of play, from what I've gathered from opinions. So again, I can't speak from experience because my highest level tank, well no, I have a Vanguard tank at 55 and my Guardian is only level 35, so that's my tanking experience for you. I've only done TFB in story mode as a Vanguard tank, so I'm not the most experienced tank, but I can talk about it from a healer perspective. Certain healers don't like them, certain healers don't. I don't have a problem healing them personally. As a mercenary, I don't really have a problem because I can buff their armor. Really, I've got an ability. You've got that. What is it? Healing scan. Healing scan. That's what it is. Healing scan, rapid scan. Let's get those two mixed up. Play a mercenary all the time, and I don't know what my own abilities are called. I was playing a commando earlier, but anyway. Yeah, assassin tanks pretty viable. I've seen quite a few guilds use them. Some guilds don't like them. It's going to come down to personal preference. It's going to come down to healing preference in the end, but yeah, perfectly viable, 2.7 I would say. Assassin is DPS though. Poor assassin. See, the thing is, I'm always missing procs and things on my assassin because I never really play it, and every time I play it I go, what the hell is this? I have to sit there for a few minutes, I have to go do some dailies and think, oh this is what I do, oh Voltic Slash, that. Oh, 2 of them, I'm always forgetting about that. I'm always forgetting about certain procs. And I think you have too many procs. There's too many procs to manage in that. I wish they would make them a bit more consistent. Or just make one Voltaic Slash to get the bonus for, what's it called? Shock. Shock, there it's there. Same ability as the Sorcerer, of course. That is the other Inquisitor class. So I hope that answered some of your questions. If you got any more questions, feel free to ask. Try to answer them as best as I can. Certain classes I don't really have knowledge of, certain like the Juggernaut and Guardian, don't really have any knowledge of them, but I'm working on it. I'm working on leveling my Guardian at the moment, level 35, bored out of my mind at level 35. Yep, you hit Alderaan and you get really bored. That's my opinion on it. Still gonna do Let's Level, actually, still gonna do that. Still got that to do. Really, I haven't played that character for a while. I haven't played that mercenary that I started, that little Let's Level series, but I'd still plan on doing it. It's just finding the time to get the Let's Level done. Because we're not at the boring stage yet. Level 17, getting good. Getting to the good stage, getting some good stuff. So I'll continue that at some point, probably next week. Well, probably not next week, no, because I got WildStar beta to play this week. That's the thing, I've been distracted by things. 2.7 came around, and things like Elder Scrolls Online came out, which, is horrible, if you want my opinion. I'll do a video on that soon. So, thank you for joining me for this little, hope I've answered some of your questions. If I haven't, You know, I'll give you my opinion. I'll give you my opinion. That's all I can do, really, is give out my opinion. And so I hope that's answered your question. So thank you for joining me, and don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe. Got a big giveaway coming up in May. I'll announce that shortly. So don't forget to subscribe, and if you're a SWTOR player, something special in May. Something special is coming. Something special. I'm just promising you that. So thank you for joining me, and goodbye.